Specifically on Bitcoin, as I've said in the past, we're a believer in digitization of products. ETFs was a big revolution for the mutual fund industry, and it's really taking over the mutual fund industry. And we do believe that if we can create more tokenization of assets and securities, and that's what Bitcoin is, it could revolutionize again finance.
Okay, so Larry Fink, of course, is BlackRock's CEO. He's all over RWAs, real world assets. He has been for a while now, and actually so much so that he's publicly come out and he's stated this prediction whereby he sees the RWA market hitting $30 trillion by 2030. Not 30 billion, 30 trillion in just 5 years. And for context, today, if we look at the RWA crypto market cap, it sits at about $35 billion. So that's 1,000x over the next few years. That is 3 orders of magnitude. And it's almost hard to wrap your head around, but there's a lot of optimism there, and we'll get into some of the reasons why that optimism exists. But we've already seen a lot of success stories in this space. If we consider ONDO, ONDO, it went from 5.5 cents at its EIO to an all-time high of $2.14 in less than a year. So that's a 39x inside of 12 months. As I record right now, the price, I guess, is in a good mood. It's up 15% on the day. So even that represents a good 1,100% gain, a little bit more than that, actually. And it's because ONDO is doing a lot of the right things. It is certainly a leader in the RWA space. Unfortunately, not all of us were clued into the potential of RWAs kind of right at the beginning. And ONDO, for that matter, we missed out on some of those massive gains. If that's the case for you, it is the case for me, I have to admit. I was a little bit late to the party. If that's the case, it's all right. We've got you covered. We're looking at some more terrific, well-vetted, excellent mid-cap RWA altcoins that are doing everything right and that are ready to explode under the right conditions. Welcome to the channel. My name is Maddie, and this is Altcoin Buzz. Look, whether it's RWA or otherwise, if you're involved in crypto in one form or another, I wish you very, very well if you choose to invest. But that being said, I am not a financial or investment advisor. Keep that in mind. And also remember, by extension, this video is not official financial or investment advice. So certainly one of the reasons why RWAs is such a hot space, especially in crypto, but separate from crypto as well, is the institutional interest that it is seeing. Guys like Fink that we talked about in the intro, all his friends, everybody in his orbit, they're pretty usually spot on in terms of predicting trends, and not because they have a crystal ball. In a lot of cases, they're the ones that, whether you like it or not, they kind of manufacture these trends. So if BlackRock says they're going to be focusing on RWAs, they're going to be investing into all of the best projects, they're going to be launching initiatives. That's just kind of how it works. So whether it's a self-fulfilling prophecy or not, whatever your opinion is, they've got a pretty good track record of predicting trends. And of course, it helps to be the biggest investment company in the world, which BlackRock is. And that's the context that we got to keep in mind for. But let's consider some other reasons, at least, why you should keep an eye on the RWA sector, independent of BlackRock's interest in it. Tokenization of real-world assets is just going to keep growing. Institutions are going to show more and more interest in assets, things like, for example, treasury bills or government bonds. However, when it comes to the retail investors, so you and me, there are also plenty of other areas to consider, to look into. Real estate especially is a big one, and I think that has mass appeal for most people out there. But also art, also stocks, credit as well, and that's not an exhaustive list. There are many more examples. If you can fathom an asset of some kind, something to which you'd attribute some form of monetary value, then chances are you can also tokenize it and fractionalize it. That applies to pretty much everything. And then, of course, RWAs fit pretty nicely into President Trump's plans, which at least in part involve enriching himself. And he is signaling right now that he wants more RWA and that regulation actually won't be too harsh. And then even more so for DeFi, because if we look at what World Liberty Financial is buying, their allocations have gone into ETH, into Aave, into ENA, Link, and DeFi is therefore open for business in the United States, and so is RWA. And so it probably would not be a bad idea to get yourself into projects that he expects to make money in. and ease regulations for. That's kind of following the smart money. It's a good strategy. And so really short-term market manipulations, as we've seen these last couple of weeks, are actually pretty good buying opportunities for RWA projects, RWA crypto projects, and more broadly, crypto projects in general, right? Altcoins that have just taken a massive hit through no fault of their own. And then what's really nice about some of the altcoins that we're about to cover is that they actually may have less downside risk than the bigger, larger market cap projects out there. And it's just a function of the numbers. They're valued at a much lower level quantitatively right now. That's a good thing, and you can take advantage of that. We're going to begin here at number 1 with Clearpool, whose ticker is CPOOL, CPOOL. And this is a project that's carving out its own niche in the RWA sector. It's doing so really by being the first decentralized credit marketplace. They are very much doing this in their own way, however. So there's kind of a twist here, where over-collateralizing is really the norm in the lending industry. Clearpool is doing things differently. It offers under-collateralized lending. And this means that Clearpool looks at the strength of a given project, whether or not it can pay back the loan. And so the use of capital becomes more efficient here. It also follows more of a Web 2 lending approach, which has huge potential. Currently, Clearpool has already made $749 million in loans possible using this methodology. Clearpool is also about to launch Ocean, and this is a big deal. It is their blockchain ecosystem, which really integrates RWA assets into DeFi. Ocean offers yield on these assets, and one of the aspects that we like about RWA is that these projects are compliant. That's a big deal for a lot of people, for a lot of institutions, and Ocean is also in full compliance. Currently, Ocean is in the testnet phase that is called Poseidon. However, the mainnet launch is expected really imminently. In the meantime, Ocean already has a pretty extensive ecosystem that it has been building up. It also just seems to keep growing. It also now has its first RWA exchange-traded pool with Port. The current price of CPOOL sits at just above 16 cents, which is about 95% away from its all-time high. However, I think it's a safe bet to assume that it can get there again to those previous all-time high marks. It's a good entry point as far as this one goes. Again, down about 50% from that all-time high mark. Its market cap right now, as I record, is $127.6 million, which is pretty good. This is still in the very small cap category. Another positive here is its token distribution. We have 760 million CPOOL tokens out of 1 billion already in circulation, so 76%. At number 2 here, we're looking at the CHEX token, CHEX, which is the native token for the Chintai blockchain and its ecosystem. CHEX launched in 2019, and until February 2024, it didn't even reach a penny in terms of token price. That is when things changed, though, pretty dramatically. And in April, it saw its really first peak at 38 cents. Later in 2024, in December, actually, it reached its current all-time high. That was 80 cents. So that is an 80x in 8 months. More on the current price in just a moment. Basically, Chintai is a platform that allows you to tokenize and trade RWAs. This includes real estate, treasuries, and bonds, which may sound familiar to you because this is a strategy that allows it to provide for both institutions as well as retail. That, of course, means that Chintai is compliant, and CHEX, like I mentioned, is its native token, which you can use to pay for gas fees. You can also stake it or use it for governance. Besides the Chintai network, the CHEX token is also available on Ethereum, BNB, Base, and Solana. Tokenizing bonds and treasuries has all kinds of advantages, of course. Just as one example here, it's much more cost and time effective, much more efficient overall. And really most of that efficiency is achieved by simply cutting out the middleman. The current price of CHEX sits right now at 28.37 cents. It's got a market cap just below 300 million, 297.2 million precisely. We have all 1 billion tokens that are in circulation. And like most other projects, it's down if we look here over the course of the last month based on market conditions, but this does represent a very good entry point. Last but not least here at number 3, we're looking at PLUME Network, PLUME. This is a layer 1 chain for RWAFI. You can tokenize, you can trade, and you can manage your RWAs on the PLUME Network. It has its own chain, since that is more scalable than, for example, Ethereum. This chain is also modular, it's scalable, and has a full stack infrastructure. So for example, it has a tokenization engine, ARC, This vastly simplifies the tokenization process. It's got a smart wallet as well, Passport. This is a custom-made wallet for their L1. A data highway as well, known as Nexus, which offers secure integration of real-world data into its chain. You can kind of see it as a bridge between the real world and its chain. This combination offers scalability, composability, and security simultaneously. That is needed, of course, to onboard the RWA sector. Now, it should go without saying that Plume is indeed compliant, but moreover, it also boasts a pretty impressive ecosystem. Plume also has its own PUSD stablecoin for that ecosystem, and PayPal's USD is also on its way to Plume. Its mainnet launched earlier this year, and that's also when the Plume token, PLUME, saw its TGE, token generation event, and airdrop. The current price of Plume here is just over 14 cents right now, with a market cap of $287 million. Out of the 10 billion Plume tokens, though, bad tokenomics here, we have only 2 billion in circulation. So that's not good. But to play devil's advocate a little bit, it's also not that unusual for a new token. Not a deal breaker, in my opinion, but we always have to highlight the tokenomics for what they are. At just about 14 cents here, and given that market cap that we've covered, in my opinion, another great entry point here, as with the other entries on this list.